Do you see what's happening? That's the world. It's falling apart. I was reminded of this again by the terrible thing that happened in Surfside in Miami Beach, the Champlain building collapsing, and it collapsed for various reasons. Now, what can we do to stop the world from falling apart? Knowledge, paying attention to science and nature. Let me show you. Here's a heavy book full of knowledge. I'm putting the book on the base of this map, symbolic of knowledge saving us. Might need a few books. What comes to mind with building homes, multiple story homes, multiple people homes, many residences right there on the coast? If you look at the pictures online, you could see it's right next to the water. People want the view. What does science tell us about hurricanes? When a hurricane arrives at shore, if there's many, many trees, they slow down the speed of the winds. The hurricane meets all these trees. Maybe some branches will break, maybe a few trees will fall, but it weakens the storm. So as it goes inland, it won't do as much damage to homes. So what do? Do we leave those trees on the coast? No. Do we plant more trees on all coastal waters so that hurricanes won't do so much damage and hurt people, even kill people? No, we don't do that, because wanting money is like the most important thing, it seems, for most people in society, or at least for the people in power. So if they're going to make big money on a place, they'll by building it right on the coast, even though it's dangerous, then they'll just, distract people from thinking about that. They'll talk about the great insurance the building has and all the certificates of safety. And I read online last night that it was reported approximately a year ago that the building was not stable. A whole year. So why didn't anyone do anything about it? My opinion, from working for many years in these different places, especially places attached to very safe lifetime jobs, like for the government, where you have your insurance and you have your steady paycheck. The people in these places, not me, their important thing is to keep the paycheck coming and keep their medical insurance. I have even point blank asked fellow employees in the past, because they complained so much about their job, why do you stay here then? And the answer was not the paycheck, it was because my medical insurance. Well, why don't they just live a healthy lifestyle so they don't have to worry about medical insurance? Most of the conditions that force people to go to the hospital or that kill people are conditions that people are creating themselves by their lifestyle. What is the royal big deal to stop eating all these unhealthy things, to stop smoking, stop drinking alcohol? I mean, is there nutrition in a cigarette? Is there nutrition in the alcohol? Yeah, there's resveratrol, which you can get from grapes. I mean, most of the country here in the United States, and maybe even in the world, I'm not sure, are Christians that follow, the original Hebrew Bible, and they also follow what they call the book with the Gospels and Revelation and the Acts of the Apostles. and the letters to the churches. They follow that. Tell me where in these books does it say that people should live like they're wasps in a hive, all on top of each other, all right next to each other. In fact, the towers that we read about in the Bible are spoken very bad against, like towers and pillars. So what happened when Abraham and his relative Lot needed more land because, they both had large herds? What happened? Abraham said, you pick what you want. Whichever direction you go in, I'll go in the opposite. He was very gracious. So Lot picked the part where the cities were. I guess because maybe it's easier there. There's people, there's things established, roads, wells, waterways, whatever. And look what happened to him. What is wrong with living like our noble ancestors and, buying a piece of land and building a house and having animals and growing food? What is wrong with that? People are healthier when they live close to nature, when they work in nature. So there's so many scriptures, and verses and poetry in these religious books that remind us about good habits. What did Abraham do in the middle of the day? He sat in the door of his tent. He was resting. It's hot in the middle of the day. He didn't sleep. He sat and he took a break. That's good advice. How often did people eat meat in the Bible? Every day? No. Every Sabbath? No. Just when there was, some big celebration, like what? Once every 2 months or something? And, there's no word for juice in the Bible. There's a word for juice in Hebrew. It's not in the Bible. Everything is wine. So when it says new wine, obviously it's not fermented yet. So there's no alcohol in it. That's juice. And when it's old wine, obviously that's fermented and that has alcohol in it. And there are many scholars and of old. Let's mention Maimonides. He wrote I'm reading one of his books again now, and he wrote in here that people should only drink alcohol with their meal, not alone, and get this, he said they should only drink enough to moisten the food in their stomach. What if everyone did that? How many people have lost children with drunk drivers? The hospitals would empty out if everyone started living healthy. Maybe there'd be, like 5 people on each floor of the hospital left because, they were born with something or they had an accident. We wouldn't have hospitals. Why do you think they didn't need hospitals in the Bible? They didn't need hotels either. When a visitor came to a town, he'd go to the community well in the middle of the town, and he'd sit there, and he'd have his belongings, and people wouldn't recognize him, and they'd know he was a stranger in need. So a few, 1 or 2, whatever, would invite him to their home, to stay temporarily. Maybe he'd want to stay in that town, so someone would give him a job. Now, you might say, how can we afford to go buy a piece of land and build a house? Well, how about just go find some broken down house like I did and get it for very little money and fix it up slowly? I'm still fixing it. So what? I have no debt. Can we please think about what we're doing? And this thing about public school, there's no public school in the Bible. I mean, just the idea of taking your children and handing them over to strangers. Are there good teachers there? Yes, but very few. in my daily work recently, there's like 3 good teachers that I worked with the whole day. The rest of the people there, you know, maybe they don't mean harm. Some of them are depressed. Some of them are frustrated. I mean, this is not a good environment for children. They also have children in the classrooms that need psychiatric help. And, you know, it's not a hospital, it's a school. So the ones that need help are on medication. The medication does not help. And so they're distracting the other students from learning. And also, why do you even need to go to school if the students are at their desk with a Chromebook all day long? They're doing their own work, and maybe the teacher looks at it once in a while. Why do they need to go to school? They could do that at home. They could do that in the public library. They could do that at a relative's house if you have to work. Please start thinking. I hate reading all this bad stuff on the news at night. People dying and getting hurt and getting mentally, psychologically damaged just from our lifestyle. Think. There are people that, when I give them my opinion of, they think, oh, that's, from the olden days. Well, so what? Everything, the earth is old, the air, the water, it's all recycled. Everything's old. Old things are good. Who do you think has more knowledge in this world? A 20-year-old, or a 70-year-old? Please think about these things. It's just, what can I say?